a lot of people have said to me that a lot of the feedback I get is that even though you've seen it before, you kind of forget the ending, and because you're hoping that it's going to somehow have a different conclusion, you know. Because I remember even when I saw it when I was 8 years old for the first time in the King's Theatre in Glasgow. I was, you know, and my mum and dad were just thrilled that I'd sat through the whole thing. Hadn't uttered a word. I was just like, oh. And yeah, I was completely, you know, silent the whole time, just completely enthralled by it and taken in. It was just amazing.
What a start to watching theatre and musicals to see Blood Brothers. And in fact, you've come full circle because a few weeks back, weren't you at that same theatre where you watched Kiki D as an 8-year-old in, you know, Blood Brothers as Mrs. Johnson?
I know, it was a real full circle moment. Like, it's just like one of these things you never think is going to happen, and it kind of happens. And you're like, wow, you know, just standing on that stage and thinking, you know, I saw this. And I can even remember where the seat was. It was in the grand circle. And I was like, it's just crazy. Never thinking in a million years I would pursue the career I did and you know, play this incredible role.
It is iconic. And that must have been a moment. I mean, as an actress, it's a joy to play that role because there's so many elements to her. And I just think it must be emotionally draining every night to play that role.
It is, because I think you really have to commit to it to do it justice. You know, you can't just go in and go, oh, I'm just going to take it easy this show, because you'd be shortchanging the audience, you'd be shortchanging the show, you'd be shortchanging yourself. So you kind of really need to jump in with both feet. But the writing does definitely take you there. It makes it easy. It makes it. But I get through. You know, we did 2 shows yesterday to get through the end. You know, and I was like, oh my god, we've got to do it again in 2.5 hours. You know.
I know, I feel like after you've done all that crying on stage and that emotion and tell me it's not true, I'm like, how do you lift yourself?
Well, you know, you immediately snap back into yourself, and then, you know, you think, okay, I need to eat now, and you know, you become back into your own brain a little bit. But yeah, and I think because I played it years ago as well, and I do feel a difference, because I feel like I scratched the surface with it before, just because I was younger. And I think as you get older, you know, you feel things more. Life has handed you many curveballs. There's grief, things that I think there's just a lot more to draw from and relate to.
This musical has definitely stood the test of time, though, because I was looking at the dates of when it first came to be on stage, and it was 83.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking over 40 years, and it's still running, and it still seems really relevant.
More relevant than ever, and you wouldn't think that with all those years in between and how we've advanced in like terms of technology and stuff. But I think human emotion and human stories are, you know, there's always a kind of, you know, true line through that's kind of people can relate to, because really as humans we, you know, we have the same emotions from whatever years, you know, they kind of transfer. I don't think I'm explaining that well, but I think you know what I mean.
No, but it's true. And you know, so much so that my daughter is 14 and she's taken her GCSE in drama. And so she come home and she was like, have you heard of this musical, Blood Brothers, Mum? And I went, have I heard of it? I can tell you about Blood Brothers. They're studying it. It's on the syllabus. Are you finding that it's great to see that? Because there must be lots of schools that are coming to study you on stage. And, you know, like I said before, what a show really to start them off on their journey.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's definitely part of the curriculum. And actually, a friend of mine who had passed away in 2018, his niece came to see it in Glasgow, and I took her backstage to see, you know, the set and everything, and she was just like, oh my god, this is amazing, you know. But when we were in Skegness, I remember being, because I that was early on in the tour, and I was like, how do young kids relate to this now? And this 14-year-old boy was at stage door with his family, and he'd been the previous day at the matinee with his school, and he'd gone back home and said to his mum and dad, you have to come and see this musical. He was so touched by it and so affected by it. And I thought, that's it, that's what we're doing, you know, we're telling a story that is touching people, and especially that generation. I think it's fantastic that it's still relevant and they still feel it. It's
Yeah, and I mean, it's got great writing, Willy Russell. Does he ever come to see it still? I mean, obviously it's been running so long, but do you ever get that nod from Willy?
I think I know he sent the reviews and everything like that. He sent the reviews. I'm sure he does come from time to time. He hasn't, as far to my knowledge, on this tour. But yes, I think he will. He will pop in. I remember certainly when I was doing when I did it in London, we used to do line runs because we had to be very specific. We weren't allowed to ad lib or anything like that. It has to be exactly as written. And if they were like, we just tidy it up occasionally, because you do sometimes think, no, this is the way it is, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, actually I'm saying the wrong word here. So
And
yeah.
you've got diehard fans like me who would probably go, no, Mrs. Johnson doesn't say that, not in that scene.
Exactly. Exactly. It has to be very, because a lot of it's to do with the rhythm as well, the rhythm of the piece, and that's how he writes. And especially because of the accent, it all has to fit together. Because if something's not right, it does stick out, and you're like, oh, that didn't sit well.
And I think this time around, for me, it will be more poignant seeing it because obviously Bill Kenwright passed away last year and he was such a major part of this production. And seeing the background, because I don't know if many people out there know that, but he's responsible for the graffiti that says Everton
Yeah.
on the back of the set, isn't he?
Know that. That's amazing. Yes, that's true. Yes, he was. Yeah, we're all really gutted about, well, yeah, because it was last October he passed away.
Yeah.
And he'd given me my start. I started in Joseph, then doing the narrator in Joseph. That was my start. What a start.
Yeah.
So he gave so many people so many amazing opportunities. Very loyal employer as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is a legend of the theatre world and truly, truly missed.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
loved this show. Loved this show.